وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ. Then Allah misguided him. So what does Allah misguide him here mean? It means that he did choose to make his God his own desires. That is the misguidance that he's in. Okay? So the misguidance and the guidance is always an outcome of the actions of someone. Allah says in the Quran, ذلك بأنهم استحبوا الحياة الدنيا على الآخرة. That is because they chose this life over the afterlife. And then Allah says those are the ones that Allah sealed their hearts and their eyes and etc. The ones who choose, who chose this life over the afterlife. It is not that Allah misguides someone who's sincere, looking for the truth. It is an outcome for the actions that you make. Guidance is also an outcome for the actions that you make. Allah says in the Quran that وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who struggle to find us, will guide them our ways.
Yeah.
So if you struggle and you try to find guidance and you try your best, Allah will guide you. If you choose disbelief and disobedience, Allah will misguide you.
So would it apply to people that, for example, let's say that they did a bunch of evil and they were misguided, now they want to turn back to God, God would basically guide them
Open
back
door.
to him.
Yes,
So
open door.
what do you say? What do you say that them
Like
believing
you,
is their
hopefully,
choice?
inshallah, after this conversation.
But what do you say that them believing is their choice then? Like, or is it God that's kind of pulling the strings? Because if God decides
It's
that
their
he doesn't
choice.
want to misguide you, and
It's
like
their
if God
choice.
decides it's their choice, okay. And then
Yes,
another,
yes.
I don't mean to, I just want to make this quick because I'm sure there's other people who probably want to talk to you.
No, there is no rush. Take your time. And
Okay.
like you are as important as anyone else. Take your time, ask your questions.
Oh, thank you.
And don't worry, if I think it's the next person, I'll tell you. It's the time for the next person, I'll tell you. But don't rush yourself. Take your time.
So one thing, and this is what made me start questioning whether I wanted to wear the hijab or not, was basically when I found out, and you can tell me if this is completely false, but that, you know, slave women weren't allowed to wear the hijab, but believing women were. And you, even if you were a Muslim slave woman, you still couldn't wear hijab. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. So the slave is the wrong term, by the way, because they were not like slaves in the sense of slavery that is used today. I mean, if you were to Google the word slave, it will tell you that someone is owned, for example. You do forced labor and you're owned by the individual, you cannot go anywhere. You're just a possession of someone that is doing forced labor and nothing, you're not getting anything equal in return. That's what slavery is. Islam doesn't have this idea. There's no such thing as this idea of slavery that you described. It doesn't exist. In fact, with Islam explicitly prohibited that form of slavery. The Prophet ﷺ told us that there are three people that Allah will be their enemy on the Day of Judgment, basically. And then one of them is the person who takes a free person and makes them a slave. So Islam completely prohibited this idea. Islam only left one thing called prisoners of war. So someone can be taken as a prisoner of war. And then that person, the Prophet ﷺ told us not to call them a slave, our slave. The Prophet ﷺ told us that to feed them from what we eat, clothe them from what we wear, do not overburden them in work. And the Prophet ﷺ told us you cannot like assault them and hit them or whatever. If you do, then you have to let them go free. You cannot. It is not like a person you own. And they can go free, by the way, on their own, even if you don't like it, by doing something called mukataba. They can go to a judge and ransom themselves for an amount of money. Allah tells us in the Quran, help them with that if they need money. So Islam doesn't teach this idea of slavery. But you said, okay, let's say there's one of those prisoners of war who are called Milk al-Yamin in Islam. One of those prisoners of war is a female. And she cannot wear the hijab. Yes, because there's a distinction of the hijab. The hijab highlights that this woman is a free woman, for instance.
Yeah.
One of the distinctions it makes is that this woman is a free woman, is not a captive. So her wearing the hijab can cause a confusion there. Because you cannot even know what type of person this is. If she's wearing a full niqab, for instance, you're not going to be able to identify. So it made a distinction between a free woman and a woman that is not a free woman.